Go ahead.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's session of Around the Block Industry Talk with Mr. Alekh Johari. My name is Supriya Biswas. I am from IDS, and I'm delighted to be your host for this exciting discussion on the latest trends and insight in the blockchain industry. Today, we are here to delve into the innovative world of blockchain technology. Around the Block Industry Talk aims to create a dynamic platform where founders, representatives, and influential personalities from the blockchain space share their expertise and foster valuable connection. Today, we are privileged to welcome Mr. Alekh, the visionary founder of Anemoi Solution, with nearly 2 decades of industry experience. Alekh has led exceptional projects like FIFA World Cup and London Olympics for some high-profile broadcaster clients. Anemoi Solution, under his leadership, is dedicated to help Web3 founders realize their vision through cutting-edge technologies like Metaverse, blockchain, AR, NFTs, Web3, and AI. Alec is also a public speaker, advisor, podcast host, award-winning short film maker, and community leader in the Web3 ecosystem. He is actively sharing his insights and contributes to growing a revolutionary field. Without further ado, let's dive into our discussion. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Alekh Johari. Hi, sir. Welcome to our Around the Block Industry Talk.
Hello, Supriya. Thank you so much for inviting me. I think it's a
Thank you so
pleasure to,
much, sir.
talk to you again, right? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for accepting our invitation. So, sir, moving ahead, can you tell us more about Animal Solution and its mission, and what inspired you to start a Web3 focused design and development agency?
Okay, so I would say these are two questions. First I will
Yes,
show why I
first,
started, right? And then I'll talk about the mission that we have, right?
yes, sure.
So why I started was, see, I have been working, like I mentioned, in broadcast industry for a long time, and
Okay.
have and there I started working on technologies which were cutting edge at that time. So that kind of ingrained in me that always try to do something which is, I would say, challenging but new, and where I could also see that it has a future, right? It has a potential.
Hmm.
So I had worked, I started building virtual worlds, like now they're called metaverses, because of addition of different technologies. But
Hmm.
I've been building virtual worlds since 2007,
Okay.
right?
Hmm.
And at that time, not many people knew. So in broadcast, virtual worlds have a different meaning, but enhance, they would still use different aspects of Unreal, Unity, 3ds Max, and then Blender, and different tools came in how to develop them, right? So why I started Anemoi Solution was because I was at a cusp, like where you have a decent, good experience, very nice exposure, like you shared. I had led projects like London Olympics, FIFA World Cup for different broadcasters. So I was like, what can I do now? What's next? I mean, I can continue definitely doing it, but what's next? So that's where I took a call. Okay, so I have to start my own company, and we had registered it some time back. So I want to take that plunge, and that's how it is. But see, even then, so Web3 was not something that I started with initially in the mind. The initially was
Hmm.
more like do some design work, because that's where my background is. Do something with technology, like at a cusp of innovation and design. Like that's what I would say. How can design and like essentially programming help create certain solutions?
Hmm.
And because metaverse had started to take shape by then, this I'm telling you around 2020, right? And people had started talking about it, and blockchain had come into the picture. NFTs were becoming talk of the town slowly. So I started delving into it. So
Hmm.
when I realized, okay, so metaverse was like something, just a fancy term for me, essentially because all these gaming platforms, which were essentially 2D. I would say not say 2D, but essentially virtual gaming platforms. They started calling themselves Metaverse. So I said, okay, so it's very similar. What I had done for a long time, it's just a new name with some additions. So okay, so that's easy to understand. Now, what is this blockchain technology, and how can NFTs work into the picture? And at that time, NFTs were only called as PFPs, right? So you had profile pictures is the short term for
Hmm.
PFPs. And what are these PFPs? And that's when Basie, like Board Ape Yacht Club, and with the monkey pictures came into the
Hmm.
light, and then with I think Justin Bieber and all these big personalities started buying into this. So it became like, okay, this has some sort of a traction. But then I was still not convinced. I was more like, why? Like, what is the actual value in it? Right? Me coming from a product management and a design background, the question was always around what is the value that this particular, be it tech or anything, is adding to the marketplace. So when I started deeping down, that's when I realized, okay, so this has potential. People are talking about it, and I am. There will be certain amount of learning curve, which will, from me as a person, would require. Uh, but yeah, this is something that I want to do. So that's when I took the plunge, and we started Web3 focused design development agency called Anemoi Solution. Why only
Sir,
Web?
mhm.
Why only Web3 focus? Sorry, it's a little longer answer because
Yeah,
just
no,
getting into
it's
this journey a little
yeah,
bit.
yeah. Please say.
Yeah. Why Web3 focus? Because I just
Mhm.
didn't want to go everywhere. We because
Okay.
focus, it,
Hmm.
it required a lot of learning. It required focus, and
Yes.
even within Web3, there are so many things. There's ICOs, IDOs, there's Metaverse, then NFTs,
Correct.
and then several other technologies, right? And then you have exchanges, and cryptocurrencies become a part of it. So but I said, okay, let's focus on the things that can add value immediately, and that's why we
Mhm.
started with our first target market or target audience were the initial founders, people
Okay.
who. So what we realized, as with my interactions into the industry and into the different communities, like now you'll hear a lot more of the word community, is
Mhm.
that a lot of developers who were smart developers, they started, they had an idea and they said, okay, let's do something in blockchain. So once they created it and then they went to the market could not really understand. Market essentially means
Yeah.
their end users, right? Because what they were building, even if the product, the concept had a lot of value. That's
Mhm.
where we came in. We said, okay, if you want to go to the market, what we will do is we'll do some nice design work, we'll do some nice UI UX work for you, and wherever we want to expand to different aspects of Web3, which is metaverse and everything, that's like our home turf, so we can acknowledge. So that's exactly that's essentially how we started. uh, Now to the second part, mission. That's a little more crisper. Our mission is very
Mhm.
simple. We want to enable businesses to be future ready.
Okay.
It's a
Great. Great.
simple line mission. Any
Very simple.
business who wants to get into like you want to be ready for the future, that's what our
Mhm.
mission is. Thank
Great.
you.
When was it established? In which
Well,
year?
see, the year, I would say the company foundation was laid somewhere, I think 2019. But that was
Okay.
just like, you define the name of the company and that, you started having those visions, right? But I would say the deep dive it took in 2022.
Okay.
Earlier it was more of studying because I was still working, and
Hmm.
and we just established the brand to some extent, why, what it should do, why it should exist. There was not much work within the brand then. But after I
Hmm.
left my work where I was working last,
Hmm.
uh, I started giving it a serious thought, and yeah, so I think somewhere in 2022 I took a serious deep dive and fully focused in this.
And from where it is operating right now?
Delhi.
Right.
So we are
Delhi.
like, I am born brought up in Delhi. We based in Delhi, but yes. So but we do have distributed teams. If that is what
Okay.
you, right? And so we have some salespeople. I mean,
Mhm.
this is, see, me coming from a non-salesy background again was a learning,
Mhm.
right? That your sales
Correct.
has to become right. I mean, I was essentially the one talking to people and doing the sales, right? And
Mhm.
yeah, so but now we do have we have a head of sales somewhere in Europe. We have a key account manager based out of Malaysia. Then I'm the
Oh,
sales, and then we have a few
mhm.
interns, who recently onboarded to take the sales initiative forward.
Great. Great. Moving ahead, uh, can you elaborate on how Enemy Solution helps business dominate in Web3?
I think the best way of domination is that when you can give value to the end customers. There is
Hmm.
no other way, like, so if you
Agree.
say dominate, right? So there's one company that will definitely come to our mind is Apple. Apple is one company which actually dominates the industry in
Correct.
terms of like the phones that they offer. That's all. So they have a very niche, and if you look at their positioning, they just have three or four different headsets. Like,
Hmm.
and the variation is just the size or the hard
Hmm.
drive space. These are the primary variations that you'll see, but they're
Correct.
dominating. And why they're
Hmm.
dominating is because why they have a high brand value is what I'll say is because they're giving to consumers which nobody had thought of, which is again seamless experience, fantastic product quality, and a brand to go with it. They're fulfilling it. They're giving that experience to
Correct.
people,
Correct.
and that's exactly what our essential our focus is. Obviously our core values are creative, involved, and integrity, right?
Hmm.
So keeping those core values at the forefront of all our interactions, we focus, that we are not separate. After, even before we sign the contract with the customer, we don't really work like, like a customer service provider vendor relationship. We work as part of a team. So if they are facing some challenge, right? I remember, because we work with primarily in startup sphere, so one of our customers were facing challenge because they were not getting the funding, from their investors, because the market changed, right, at a certain
Correct.
point. But we did, to some extent, we continued to work with them. We delivered, whatever because we are also a bootstrap startup, right?
Hmm.
So whatever our bandwidth allowed, we continued to work. And then the customer was chasing us for payments, when they had some clarity, when they had the
Hmm.
funds release or whatever. So what I'm trying to say is that our relationship model is what we work on more than the technology. There are thousands of people who can build on things and work on things, but what
Hmm.
we offer extra, is how I would say is the relationship, right?
Yes. Agree. Yeah, that's an amazing thing that you're putting a touch of uh you are building relations here, and that's
Yeah.
amazing. What unique strategies do you employ to ensure a successful digital transformation?
See, the transformation, the one is, to understand why the customer is doing it. Like why do they want
Okay.
to build what they're doing, right? Once we
Mm-hmm.
understand that, that's where the transformation actually happens. That see, if it's a new product, then it's a different ball game. It's a different thought process, right? You want to start the entry. You have to take customer feedback continuously before you actually reach
Correct.
the PMF. That's product market fit.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're already out there, right, and you customer
Yes.
has already some experience with using your product, then it becomes a little more easier because you can then vouch on feedback. So I remember this one customer. So they had how do I say it? They had a working product, and they had some paying customers. The customers were facing a lot of challenge in UI/UX, in the sense that customers were not able to understand, and like there were certain challenges we understood, and though we did not directly talk to their customers, but we had our questions answered through them. You know, so the biggest thing that we did is once we understood those challenges, we redid the whole app, interface. The whole UI UX. We took some time and we redid, and yeah, and once certain parts of it started going into production, development, and once they were available to their end consumers, uh, they started loving it. See, so yeah, so there's it's not like a like a pill, as they say in Matrix, a blue pill or a red pill you can eat and then you can solve the problem. No, I think it's a continuous improvement, which is um, important for people to realize. And before they actually go that, they have to realize, that what they have built, like this is essentially for the founders who are still, running the show. That the product that they have built, there could be people who may not agree with everything that they put in. Like
Correct. Yeah.
yeah, so the other challenge, which I learned from experience is that a lot of people, especially the founders, they've attached, like they're very very closely attached to the product, right? And for them to see any flaw, it's like a baby, right? And you can't really see flaws in your baby, even if the
Correct.
others can. So that acceptance, that small thing, that acceptance, once it is there, then the journey to transform is much more easier.
Agree. Sir, would you like to share any success story that has impacted any business?
Success story, we have a few,
Hmm.
but there's one thing, I would say, not really a success story, but it's like a ongoing, it's like for a potential customer. I'll say
Okay.
that,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Why I say that as a success is because they thought of us. They wanted to work with us. I
Hmm.
mean,
Hmm.
eventually the budget at that point, this was sometime last year. The budget wasn't sanctioned because the market dynamics and all, right? But the potential that project had was to transform how people in tier 2 tier 3 cities can earn their living, and this is using metaverse. This was
Okay.
about this was about upskilling them on different abilities. It was about upskilling them on new, like say for example, you're a carpenter, right, in a
Hmm.
tier 2 city or tier 3 city, and you know that you're good in cooking, but how can you polish your cooking in a particular, cuisine, and how can you can use benefits of the local banking system. So the idea
Hmm.
was, I mean, I can't say the whole thing because we're still discussing, but the idea is to use
Hmm.
metaverse to upskill them, doing certain things,
Okay.
and having that ecosystem enabled as part of the metaverse, so that they can actually go ahead and buy the utensils required or whatever, which could be
Hmm.
at a small amount of loan, at a very very optimized percentage, so that they can have
Hmm.
that ability, and they have the ability to earn an extra living, right? And maybe diversify their skill set as well. So that's a
Hmm.
fantastic project. I'm really looking forward to start that whenever that happens. But yeah, that's the reason. This is something that I really want. I mean, there are a few other use cases as well that I can talk about, but I think this is some the highlight, which is always staying in my mind. How to create that impact.
Great. And after you start working on it, and when it successfully you deliver it, our students would like to know more information about it. So we will again connect for more details later on.
Yes, yes, for sure.
Next, how do your educational workshops empower teams with a deeper understanding of Web3? And what are some of the key takeaways a participant can expect from these workshops?
Okay. Well, here I would have to thank the IDS team. They invited me twice as part of the Bharat Blockchain Yatra. So Arvind and and a few other team members. I mean, you yourself are there. As part of the team. That I got. See, I love teaching. Students.
Okay.
Why I say that? Something I know it just inherently. So I'm a guest faculty in NIFT Delhi as well. Where I'm teaching them 3D design. I've done workshops with in different colleges to talk about metaverses, how blockchain can do it. I used to do, during COVID times, online workshops on how NFTs can actually be useful. How can people prevent them,
Hmm.
prevent themselves from being scammed? What is the advantage of community-driven, development or community in Web3 per se?
Hmm.
So see, the normally the outcome is, for these workshops is fun. People will understand what these technologies can do, right? Before they actually start building it, because learning to build some things takes a little longer time. But these gives them, how do I say, a little top 20% of that information, that what these technologies are made of. Like Web3 is UI UX. You have, blockchain. You have metaverse. You have NFTs. You have, ICOs, IDOs. You have these cryptocurrencies. You have tokens, like NFTs
Correct.
is part of a token, right? So there are different types of tokens.
Hmm.
So what all this whole technology has inside it. So that's one. And then when we, say when I take a session on metaverse, then we deep a little more deeper into metaverse, like what are the tech stack for metaverse, how it is actually helpful, and what all industries are actually using it, how can that particular industry in education can use it, right? And once that is done, then usually these are more of question rounds, like some people are interested in learning the whole journey. Say, for if you
Hmm.
want to start in a blockchain, you learn Solidity, right? And Rust,
Correct.
depending upon the blockchain
Hmm.
that you want to work with. And now there are a lot of other languages coming in.
Yes.
And
Hmm.
the primary, if you want to work on an NFT sort of, like a shareable, uh, how do I say it? Sort of a transactional platform, you use Ethereum, because with NFTs 721 or 1155, these are different
Hmm.
protocols. Use them to build some app. If you want to go on the media and something with very very low gas fees, you go on Solana, right? And then there's several other blockchains that people, and I mean every day there are new coming in, right? So in a nutshell, these sessions give people, students, a lot of idea about how can they actually be a part of this industry, what job opportunities are available, and what do they need to do to enable themselves to be available for these jobs, right? Just because
Hmm.
there's an availability of a job doesn't mean that they'll get hired, right? They need to
Correct.
be able to have that skill set. What skill set do they need to develop, right? And what understanding do they need to have, how to be a part of
Yes.
this new technology wave that is happening right now.
Correct. Absolutely agree. Sir, what makes the user experience of Web3 application developed by Anemoi Solution stand out in the market?
Well, again, the simple thing you see, what we have when we start, building UI UX for any customer, before it actually goes into development, is we keep in mind what is the target audience, right? Are the target audience Web3 natives? In most cases, Web3 native target audience is very small. The bigger chunk, because people would want to talk to, is the customers who are coming from Web2 companies. And you have to understand that Web2 has been developed over 20 years, right? So something which has been developed over 20 years. So as of today, the experience for the customers is really, really smooth and spot on. So whatever we try to do, we try to build that experience from that point onwards. Like, see, if the customers is used to single sign on, say, like if you go to any social platforms or any SaaS based platforms right now, you have your sign ons directly from your either Google or from Facebook or from any other platform. And if you look at on the other side, if you look on the earlier platforms, they first is how to create a MetaMask account. Those are essentially your your email or your login, uh, similar to that, right? So if you have to create a MetaMask account, it's a pain. But now, right? So now platforms are coming in, which are giving both options. While the Web3 logins and everything, is important and are being, becoming, how do I say it? Their experience is getting better, but you still need to give people the, access through a way or give an experience which they are used to, right? In the especially Web2. So that's why I would say, there's no Web3 pure Web3 company right now, like any platform. Most are ranging between Web2 to Web3.
Yeah,
Right?
correct,
Because
correct,
at the
correct.
back end, sometimes you have platforms like platforms as well who are running validator nodes on Amazon, right? I mean, essentially, if your validator node is on Amazon, I mean, nothing wrong with that. It gives you different advantages, but then you can't really call yourself Web3. And if you're using a storage which is like cloud storage, I'll not name any platform, and not using Penata or probably Sia, or there's several others, right? If you're not using that, then essentially what it means is that you're not a pure Web3 platform,
Pure
even if you
Web3, yeah.
say exactly. So I think most of them are in the transition range, between 2.5 to 3. But yeah, but that's where we are getting. I hope that answers your question. I'm just trying to
Yes, yes,
explain because at the end students will be listening, so they need to have a bigger view, right? Just not short
yes,
answers. Thank you.
correct. Next, as you said, you mainly focus on founders, but is there any particular type of industry or sector you focused on or you focus on right now?
Not really. See, because this, see, uh, like I said, we are focused on the technology we want to work in, not essentially on the segment,
Segment.
right? We're not segmented it. It is more of us like, if there's a new requirement, like day before sorry, last week, I was talking to a founder who's in healthcare domain, right? And he wants to build something within healthcare and see how it can be used. So we had some ideas, we had some nice discussions. I don't know where it'll go, but that's an opportunity that came to me, directed to us through somebody that we had worked in the past. And there's a lot of like a lot of use case of Web3, especially blockchain, in using your medical records. How do you store them, and how they can be validated easily. So there are a lot of use cases in health tech, right? Then we working in NFT space. Definitely, we very recently were part of the team who launched a platform, right? I think about 2 to 3 weeks back. Yeah. So we're not really focused on industries. And on the metaverse side, we are more on, like educating, building for big businesses, who want to have nice onboarding experience for their employees, who want to have a nice onboarding experience for their customers, who want, say if you have multiple offices, you want to give them an experience of how your multiple offices look like, using metaverse. On the real estate side, we're trying to do some inroads. I mean, not much, but yeah. So I would say it's varied, experience that we have, and yeah, and we happily, onboarded 2 new customers in 2 different geographies, like different countries right now, and within 2 other countries we are like very close to finalizing. I would happily share, once we close them. So yeah.
Yeah, looking forward to it, sir. Next, sir, can you tell us some innovative uses of Metaverse you have implemented for product launches or you have implemented?
Well, so I will not say product launches per se, because but
Yeah.
these are most, yeah. So but what we have done is,
Hmm.
we've used Metaverse for events. That's something that we
Events.
also,
Okay.
yeah. So
Hmm.
what we've done is, even our office space has been used. We make it available on rent to few people. So we
Hmm.
recently did a event on data security AML by with an expert in Cyprus. It was a very closed event. She invited a few of the, like people from community within the country. Some high leaders, right? So
Hmm.
Metaverse was used for, because that event was about, how to have an AML, how to data security and everything within the Metaverse. So that's where, she contacted us, and, we finalized and we did that. We've done community management events within the Metaverse. I mean,
Okay.
these are beyond the standard ones, and then, I mean, I'll give you an idea. We are talks with some filmmakers, how to use Metaverse.
Hmm.
I mean, I can't reveal much, but, just trying to give you an idea.
What are your plans, sir, for Anemoi Solution in the coming 5 to 10 years? 5 years.
I think we're going to get into, the plans are big, definitely. We are very, very kicked with the idea, right? What I want to do is, maintaining the small team, I mean, we don't want to get into 1,000 people team, that's not the vision. We
Hmm.
want to have a lean team, but efficient team, right? So
Okay, great.
using that, we want to get into events, we want to start planning some, I would say, IRL events, because we want to get into that. And because the business side is when, as and when it stabilizes, and, it's kind of getting on the auto run. So that's where we want to venture out. I already run a podcast, so I want to take the podcast global. I run a podcast called The Future of Web.
Yes.
I
Mm-hmm.
already have two other podcasts. One is called What is the Prompt. That's, as you can see, it is about AI, right? And all these are education initiatives, to talk to people. And there's another one called Tokenization, the new phenom. This is with a partner. I mean, the one on NFT and AI with a partner. The Future of Web I run independently. Yeah, and we want to take these global. Like, we want to get much more senior leaders, much more, yeah. How do I say it? Like, much more wider audience is what we want to do. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so the plans are big. Fingers
Great.
crossed.
Yes, yes, definitely, sir. And I regularly follow your podcasts. That those are amazing. And
Thank
I
you.
also get to know a lot of things in your podcast. Very informative. Sir, if any student has any query related to anything that you are working on, how can they reach out to you if they want to understand more about your projects or in general have any question?
See, there are two ways of doing it. One is, connect with me on LinkedIn, right? And now what we've done is we've also started to build a community slowly on Telegram. So,
Okay.
they can definitely join us there, and where we can, excuse me, have weekly sessions, like, maybe once a month sessions. Yeah.
Mhm.
Right? And we can, once, if there are any questions, the community will start, because it's a very new community, we're like very, very few people. We start building that, so they can,
Mhm.
once they join in very early, the advantage is that their questions will be answered more, because, when they have less questions, we'll
Mhm.
have less people, less questions. The probability of their questions being answered is high, right? So there are two ways:
Yeah,
join our Telegram channel and connect with me on LinkedIn.
great. Before we wrap up, sir, do you have any piece of advice for our budding entrepreneurs or someone who is trying to build something, working on a project? So, your final thought on that.
Yes, I will. I have a couple of things, because I'm already advising a couple of companies. One is based in one of the IITs, and one is in University in Punjab,
Mhm.
Amritsar rather. So,
Mhm.
the important thing is that if you have an idea,
Mhm.
try and, bring to light as soon as possible. Talk to people, talk to so many people that you have an idea, where do you want to go. I mean, so many doesn't mean 1,000 people, at least the ones who are building in that industry. Say if you have an ed tech idea, or you want to go
Mhm.
to a D2C marketplace. I'm not saying your idea can only be Web3. Your idea can be any. If you see a
Correct.
skill gap, you see a challenge there, right? So the
Mhm.
important thing is that you try to solve a problem with the solution that you want to build, because if you're not clear, what problem you're trying to solve, then people will have a difficult time understanding it. right?
Correct.
So
Correct.
the stepwise is, first is what problem are you trying to solve? Like you see a problem, so then discuss that with some people, that you can trust and you can reach out to,
Hmm.
because then you'll give a perspective. Maybe it's not a problem like at a wider scale, right? So the second step is figure out your TAM. How big is the problem? Is it only with 10 people or 100 people or 1,000 people, or you see that's a generic problem with where lakhs of people could come in? Because that would essentially become the people that you would reach out to once you have a product, right? So once is try to figure out the problem that you're trying to solve. Next is how big is the market, and then you can figure out how to build it and all those things. Because building is never a problem. See, it's like the direction. You want to go
Hmm.
from Delhi to
Correct.
Mumbai, or you want to go from Delhi to Chennai. That is what you have to decide. Taking a
Yes.
plane or taking a train or driving down, these are the next later steps, right? So yeah, so that's what I would say.
Correct. Correct.
I
Correct.
hope that
So,
helps.
yes, definitely, sir. That will help a lot of students who are watching this around the block industry talk. And now, before we wrap up, I would like to invite our audience to join us using the QR code displayed on the screen. As discussed with sir, that you can reach out to him with on his LinkedIn. We will put his QR code here on the screen as well. Request you to join our Discord community and don't forget to follow us on social media for more such around the block session. Thank you so much, sir, for giving your time. It's been a pleasure having you here. This was very informative and engaging session for everyone, and I hope they have learned a lot today. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you so much, sir, once again. With that, let's wrap up this around the block session.
Sure. Thank you so much, Supriya, for inviting me. Thank you, the IDS team. And yeah, wish you well. Bye bye.
Bye bye.